Hi everybody, this is Nora from Pixie Art Studio. Come join me to create this beautiful drawing for Cinco de Mayo. The naive style is where artists bring to life their feelings, their thoughts, and their expressions in their drawing, which embraces the human spirit. It's art that is felt rather than thought. I'm going to present to you a design which I've created in celebration of Cinco de Mayo. And here is what it looks like. It's a cat with a skull and a fish skull. And it says Happy Cinco de Mayo. And the idea of what I'm going to do here is, since I've already illustrated the design, I'm going to show you how to color block it and fill it in. And I've also included this actual design in the description so that you can print it out, draw it along with me, or you can do it by yourself and do the outlines on your own. And I hope you'll join me in celebration of Cinco de Mayo. Hi everyone, so this is the part for our supplies section, and I'm just going to go over what we're going to need. As you can see here, this is our design that I've laid out already. It's a skull, and there's a cat behind it, and the skull of the fish bones, and the lettering Happy Cinco de Mayo. Now I've embellished it a little bit with some flowers. And what I'm going to do is go over the supplies now that you've seen the design, and we're going to draw that afterwards. Something that I've used on a regular basis is Borden & Riley's. It's a 14 by 17 inch pad, and it's very good for pens and markers. And in this class, I mean, I've used before colored pencils, but I've decided today that I'm going to be using markers, and I will be selecting them along the way in this class. So I use this as a little backdrop because sometimes ink from markers can get through the page, so it's good to have another page behind it. And some of the things that we're going to use are markers, such as, you know, a blue, definitely an orange and a yellow, maybe a magenta, and a green. And now you can just pick out the colors that you want, and along the way we'll decide what I want to put on my design, but you can pick your design as well, or you can follow along and make your design similar to mine. Now, in the rest of the class, I'm going to go over the marker part, which is going to be this design, which I'm going to snap a picture of, and I'm going to include in the description so that you can download it and then color it in at the same time. Or if you're, you feel that you want to draw your own outlines, then that's fine. You can pick from the cat or the skull or the cat and the fish, and or the whole shebang, and go for the cat, the skull, the fish bones, and the lettering. And you can embellish it the same way, either with the flowers, or you can go for more and maybe color in the background a different color. If you have a smaller piece of paper, then it will take you less time if you have a smaller piece of paper. But if you want it to be something that you're going to accomplish on a couple of sits, then you can do that as well and do a bigger paper, because the bigger it is, the easier it is to draw on it. So now I'm going to meet you in the next section where we're going to actually begin our design in coloring it in. I'm going to start out by drawing and outlining my fish bones, because then I have a better sense of what I want to put with the other two. Some people would start with the skull and then move outwards, but I think that's the way I'm going to start today's lesson off. So I'm going to grab my marker, and this is a Touch New marker, but you can use any marker you have. I bought these off the internet. And I'm going to outline my fish bones here. So I'm going to go over the outlines that I've created in pencil. Now, these are blue and red pencils, which you can get off also the internet. I use those because I think they stand out rather well. If they don't, you can let me know in the description down below how you feel about it. I'm going to go over these outlines and make sure that my design stands out nice, and then I'm going to color it in. So that is for the outlines here. Now it's all in green, as you can see, nice and drawn out. I'm going to draw in the eye, and then the little diamond triangle that's on the eye, and I'm going to do the fin as well, as you can see here. And I'm going to go in the center of the fin with the fin's outlines. And then I'm going to do the other piece of the fish, which is going to be maybe another color. So maybe a bright green, maybe this green as well, so it pops out a little bit. So I'm going to do the inside of the fish here. And I'm going to use this nice color. It's kind of a grass green. And I think that this will look rather nice on this fish. A lot of Mexican art has a folkloric style, which I really like and I really admire. If you like that style, then maybe this will be something that you'll like to draw. I'm going to color this in as well. Now, this will be an easier way to draw out the fish. Now, I've realized that I maybe need, in fact, this marker to do the outlines on the fish tail, because otherwise it won't stand out as much. And I'll just go over this, because then if I use the inside of the fish tail with another color, it'll come out better. So that's how you work when you're doing something new. You just take your time, and along the way you discover how you want to work it out. Now, I did not do this in crayons today because I wanted to try something new, and because this is such a big surface, I felt that markers would be better. So here I just fill this out, and then I'm going to also do the interior of the head here, of the fish head, with the same color as the tail. Now, when you use the flat side of the marker, it's for bigger spaces or when you're trying to cover wider surfaces, but you could also use the tip of the marker and do tight spaces, tight corners. That's a trick that you can use with these types of markers that have two sides on them. It's very useful to be able to have two sides, because if you have to use the other side of the marker, the fine tip, then that is definitely for corners. And for instance, you use this side of the marker, which is the tip, and the fine tip, and you go on the corners here, the tight edges, for instance. Now, I think that I'm going to use an even brighter for the bones of the fish. I tend to like this color. It seems like a nice color. Let's see how this looks. It's not as bright as I thought it would be. So, but I'm going to stick with it and run with it anyway. So the bones are going to be this color. Then we're going to move on to the fin. So for the fin, I'm going to use something even nicer. I'm going to use a color that I already started with for the fin. This is the grassy green color. Now, it's fun to use markers, but when you're using markers, you want to make sure you use marker paper so that it doesn't either get caught on the marker, the paper, or the marker gets caught on the paper rather. And then you also want to make sure that it doesn't bleed through. So that's why we use this special paper, because it prevents the marker from seeping through too much or spreading out in the paper. So now that we've got the fish semi-done, we might want to add an eye. So There we go. That's the eye of the fish. Now next, I might want to go ahead and do the lettering. I've used a script lettering on purpose because I think it looks fancy. So so far we've got happy. Got happy down. And then we're gonna do cinco. I didn't spell out the word cinco, I used the number because I had a tight space here. And that's kind of the way we're gonna do this. And if you're an admirer of folk art and you're part of Skillshare, you can see my class on gouache paints, and that's where I go over for the folkloric style, and I use a gouache paint to make a design in that class, and I really like it, and maybe I'm gonna make one for this my YouTube channel as well. So that's duh. And then the Mayo part, I'm gonna go over it like this. And I'm gonna do the edges kind of thicker because it's script, and that's the way script looks. It's a little thicker on the edges and then thinner in the middle of the lines. And Mayo means May in Spanish. We have the A to do. And I'm gonna make this a little thicker on the end. And then the Y. Also a little thicker at the edges. Now you can use your other side of your marker to do these lines if you like, because it's easier to write in calligraphy or scripted form when you use the flat edge side of your marker. And then we get the O here. It's not a zero, it's an O. As in a letter, and then this, and then that's the little part which is the exclamation point. So there we go, we got Cinco de Mayo. So I'm going to add some finishing touches here on some of the lettering, and the way I do that is by making certain parts of the letters thicker and some of them less thick. I wanted to make sure that I explain correctly what folk art is before I move on. So folk art, it relies on the experiences of community heritage rather than formal training. It's art that's felt through you rather than taught. So much of folk art is rooted in tradition, and it runs in with artists' feelings, their ideas, for instance, their expressions, customs, and they bring it to life in something like this piece, which is something that's related to, like I'm doing here. I'm gonna move on to coloring in and with my markers, the skull. And I'm gonna start out by doing the outlines now on my skull here. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a feather as well. But I'm gonna go over it a second time to make it a little more even, because it doesn't look so even right now, and I want it to be perfect, because this is something I really enjoy doing, and I love celebrating this day because I really like to draw the folk art style. So I'm gonna make sure it comes out good for you guys. So these are the teeth on the skull, and it's good to take your time when you're drawing. That way you have something nice when you're done. And if you draw nice lines, it shows. Again, you don't want everything to be exactly the same in the thicknesses of your lines. So you can, make some thicker and make some not as thick. And that will make a little bit of variation in your lines. So this is his nose, the skull's nose. And it's kind of an inverted heart here. This is a good approach, I think, to draw your lines and then fill them into different colors that you choose, or you're choosing. Now he's got kind of a little thing going on here. So this is more of a Ziggy Stardust kind of look. And I'm gonna probably draw this yellow. Now the inside of the eye as well. Probably gonna make multiple colors there. And there's a heart here. I think I am going to draw in the flowers with outlines in blue. And that's the beauty of drawing with pencil first. You can always erase some of your pencil drawings, your pencil lines. But when you draw with marker, it's more permanent. So you want to be sure that whatever you got down first is well, you know, really what you want to draw, because once you lay down your marker outlines, it's kind of more difficult to actually change that. I'm going to use some very bright colors. I'm going to use some magenta, yellow, and orange on the inside of the skull. And I know that I want to draw this outline here along the eye in yellow. And maybe I could draw the skull in the background of the skull in orange. Maybe give him some yellow first. Teeth. He doesn't have white teeth, he has yellow teeth, so he doesn't brush his teeth very much. Then again, he's a skull, so it doesn't matter. Now you don't want to go in too much into your blue lines, because these two colors tend to overlap, and then they're going to make a darker color. So I'm going to speed the video up at this point just to finish off this skull, and then I'm going to join you back here for the cat. So here I am. I told you I'd be back to draw the cat, and to outline the cat, I've picked these colors. You swatched them on purpose so that you can know what I'm going to be picking out for some of the colors. They might not be all of them, but now this is going to be his ears first and foremost. Then I have his type of fur going on here, and then I have his paw, which I didn't make perfect, but that was done on purpose so that he looks a bit abstract-y, you know? And in the naive style, which is more about the human spirit. So it captures the human spirit. So my human spirit says that I want this cat to be more of an expressive cat. It doesn't have to be all perspective and 3D. It just has to be made from my feelings and my ideas. And so now I'm going to do some of the interior of the cat here. These are his markings. Then his ears, the inside of his ears, I decided to make with some hearts, upside down hearts. And he has a mask around his eyes and his mouth and his tongue and his teeth. So he's kind of a fun cat because he has hearts for eyes. So this is for the tulip that I have on the inside in between his eyes. And then his nose. And his nose is okay. Now the only other part that's left is his body. The tail has a tip of the tail, and it's defined by this part, you know, the marking. And then we have the markings on the tail. These are the markings of the cat. Here has his nails. So that's the cat's look, the feather here. And I would like to make it more with a blue tone, like a dark blue tone. So I'm going to make this an outline of the interior of the feather. And it's cut like a feather that's cut up. And I want that to, you know, stand out a little bit as well. And that's my feather. And I'm going to have to pick a color for that at the end. But first I'm going to fill out the cat. I might start out with doing the inside first, and that is quickly going to be applied with the flat side of the marker. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the skull. I'll meet you back here when I'm done showing you how I applied the colors on the cat. Hey you guys, so now that we've finished the cat and the feather, the skull, the fish bones, and the lettering, the only thing we have left are the background. We can leave it white, And we have the little flowers that I've plastered all over this drawing on purpose to make it pop out just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is draw the flowers first. So I'm going to draw this one in let's say bright magenta. So that's one here, and then I'm going to put another one here. And so I'm back one more time because I would like to outline the skull in a darker color, and that way this drawing will have enough pop to it to make it look perfect. Sometimes when you look at your drawing at the end, you feel that, you know, there's something that you can add or change to embellish it and empower it a little more, and that's what I think needed to be done here. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm making sure that the teeth come out not all too crooked. After all, it is a skull, but he doesn't have to look terrible with terrible teeth. Now, what do you think of that? That comes out a bit better. So that is the skull, and now the only place that's left is the cat's nails. And I hope you really liked what we've made today, what we've created today. And feel free to watch my little conclusion and leave some comments in the comment section below. And happy Cinco de Mayo! Thank you so much in drawing this design with me here today. I hope you had a good time and that you'll join me again for another round of kids art in celebration of our next holiday or our next design that we put together. Have a happy Cinco de Mayo and celebrate it with you and your family. Thank you so much.